Mastering the art of storytelling is the key to crafting pitches that captivate and compel. Hello, wonderful attendees. I'm your host, Dalvinder Kaur from Lovely Professional University. Get ready to dive into today's topic, that is perfecting your pitch, crafting stories that sell. Before we proceed further in today's session, allow me to introduce the experts of the day, Mr. Sameer Kumar Rana, Assistant Professor and HOD, School of Liberal and Creative Arts, Film and Television, Lovely Professional University. Specializing in photography and cinematography, Mr. Sameer has excelled across various genres such as fiction, non-fiction, interiors, and fashion. He brings over 7 years of academic experience, making him a well-rounded expert in his field. So I would like to introduce the alumni also in this webinar, Mr. Sheikh Fayaz, Director at Speed Records Private Limited, a multi-talented in the industry who excels as a director, numerous music videos amassing millions of views on YouTube. Under his suspension, he launched Speed Records, Dogri and Kashmiri are sub-channels of Speed Records. So I would like to introduce the admission nominee also in this webinar, Mr. Ashish Kumar Sharma, a former journalist turned academic counselor with over 10 years of experience, currently serving as a senior officer and territory head in tie-ups and public relations at Lovely Professional University. Before we proceed further in today's session, I would like to request everyone for any questions you can write in the chat box or in the Q&A box, and same will be addressed from my side in the end of this webinar. And now I hand over the things to Mr. Sameer Kumar and Mr. Sheikh, and it would be an absolute delight to listen from both of you. Over to you both.
A very good afternoon to the viewers. Today, you've gathered here, I think, to learn from us the how to craft the most compelling stories that sells through films. Uh, Before we begin with the workshop, like the webinar, let me take you all to a brief introduction or sort of an history about filmmaking, how it all started. Uh, when we talk about cinema or films, it's not more than like it's nothing but a medium to tell stories, like any other mediums that we have. Like we have literature, we have poetry, we have play, we have paintings, we have sculptures, any other art forms, performing arts including, right? So when we compare this medium with the with any other medium, it is one of the very youngest medium, and it started. The world knows it. It was started in 1895 when, for the first time, two brothers, two Frenchmen, Lumiere brothers. The world knows them by the father of cinema, the pioneer in cinema, who started documenting real events, which were not called as movies that time, but they were called actualities. So it was simple. It was just a static frame where you could see people are gathering somewhere. Like there is an example of a film which is the arrival of a train at the station, and few workers are leaving out of the factory. So that was the only documentation at that time, because later by the filmmakers it was understood that this medium, the cinematography as a medium, can do more than only documenting the realities. Then the filmmakers like Edwin S. Potter, George Méliès came, who brought narrative into the film making. So um, this is a photograph from the film, the workers living out of a Lumiere factory, where you could see peoples are just, coming out of factory. It has story, it has some story, but it does not have a complete narrative. It does not have any plots. So then the filmmaker who came later, they've understood the potential of this medium, and then they brought narrative and plots into the story, and they started using this medium as a storytelling medium. Um, Talking about the evolution of cinema, from late 19th century to 1910s, it was the age of early cinema. From 1910s to 1920s, it was silent era, because it started as silent. There was no sound when it all began. When it started, there was no sound. It was just a visual, because it was purely a visual medium at that time. Then between 1920s to 1930s, sound was added for the first time, and filmmaker have understood its impact on overall experience of a narrative. It actually uh, kind of supported this medium. Then from 1930s to 50s, color was added into cinema. Before that, it was all black and white. It was all gray. Then from 1980s till date, it is the digital revolution which came. And it is now, you think about the AIs, artificial intelligence, the kind of technological disruption that are being happening in cinema. You all are aware about what it is and what changes it is bringing, right? So it is, but it will always remain a medium of telling a story. So one thing is very clear here, that story is the key here. In order to compel us, in order to create or craft a very compelling story which takes the attention of the viewer, which moves the audience, you need to you need to go a little deeper. You need to find your characters from your surrounding. You need to find the story which relates to the viewers. So there are no hard there are no thumb rules of creating the compelling stories which sells, but everybody has their own style. Everybody has their own way of doing it, of finding it, because story is all level around you. So as we have our alumni here, Mr. Faz, who joined in the year 2017 and passed out in 2020. And after that, he has worked with many music videos producers, music video companies like Speed Records, started Speed Records, Kashmiri, Dogri, and making films, short films, writing stories, finding stories for them. So I would like to add Faz in this conversation, is in this discussion, that Faz, what is your way of finding stories? How do you find that story which move people?
Basically, as you said, sir, good morning, everybody. First, my name is Faz. I work as director at Speed Records, and I've done many music videos, short films, movies, as sir said. So basically, what sir asked is, key, how do I find my, thought process? How do I find my thought process of writing a script or a story? It so depends. As you said, it depends from person to person and situation to situation. Sometimes there are some social issues which hit you. Sometimes you see a person who is poor, who is hungry, you see that you poverty thing hits you in your mind, and you start thinking about that and you write a script around it. Sometimes you're going on a train or on a plane or anywhere, you're sitting on the banks of a river or in a mountain, and you just let yourself go and you focus on a thought and you dissolve yourself in that thought. And once you're going in that thought, you start visualizing things, you start visualizing the film in your brain, and you start writing that down on paper, start writing the script down. Once you are alone from the world, for me particularly, once I'm alone, whether it be on a train or once I feel alone physically, emotionally, I start writing. That is the position for me basically. And you have to imagine before you write. You have to imagine that whole world in your mind, and then you can put that on paper.
Okay. Okay. So yes, like many of the writers, they see they go abroad, they go to a place where there is less disturbance, and then they start writing. This is how I think the filmmaker Anurag Kashyap has also you know discussed in one of his documentary that while writing the script of Gangs of Wasipur, he went abroad. He went to Europe, and he then there he developed the plot of Gangs of Wasipur. So you need little isolation, I think, because you need to visualize, you need to think about the characters, you need to think about the world that you were supposed to be creating to make it look more relatable to the audience, to the viewers, right? So any my question is to you, Faz, that if somebody wants to write a story for a film, what are the key considerations that he or she has to uh, see or consider while crafting that story or while starting it, right from the ideation to its final drafting? Like what is your suggestion to the
Of
young
course, sir.
budding writers?
First, it is the idea, as you said. Could you shift to the next slide, please? Because there's the
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
thing
yes,
discussed.
yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The next one. No, no, no. So you went forward. Yeah, this. So to develop a script, you need many things. Firstly, you basically everybody should have the idea or the concept. First and foremost comes the idea of the script. There should be a basic. So next to the idea slide, there is the script. Idea and its development. Every film needs an inspiration. You need to have an inspiration to develop a film. Just as I told you, you need to have some thought, some social issues, or something like that. People make films based on books. There have been a lot of films in the world of cinema that have been made on books. In Indian cinema, there is Three Idiots, Two States, Makbul, many films that have been made on, great literature. And in international cinema, you'll see Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, made on Song of Ice and Fire, Da Vinci Code, Hunger Games, many films which you can make on books also. You need to develop inspiration from films, from any, thought, books, social issues, and you have to identify themes and topics that will interest you. For example, this travel comes to mind. There's an excellent film in Indian cinema called Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, which is entirely on travel, and it has some life lessons also. But it shows you the world, it shows how people go around the world, and basically the theme is travel. So you can make films on travel, you can make films on any particular emotion, you can make films on anything. And the last point mentioned, there is fantasy world inspirations. So in filmmaking, basically everybody's free to do whatever they want. They are free to even create their own world. They are free to create their own universe, create their own rules in that universe. Like you'd see Marvel Cinematic Universe has created Avengers, Iron Man, those films, Avatar has been there. They have created basically what they have done is they have created their own universe, or in Harry Potter, as there is, they have created their own set of universe, and they have created their own ideas in that universe, their own rules and regulations for that universe, basically. So in filmmaking, there is no boundaries. There are no boundaries at all. You can do whatever you like, you can create whatever you like, unless the main concept is to catch the eye of the audience. Your audience should be hooked to the screen. That is your main concept. That is the most important thing your film should have. So next. And after you have the idea, you need to do some research on that idea. For example, if you are writing a movie about war, or about a certain time period, you're writing a movie about the Mughals or about any kingdom or something, you need to know what people used to wear in that time, what props, what people used to have, what was the art direction there, basically how the people used to move from one place to another, were their horses, how were the horses, like how tall were the horses, how tall were the men in that period, what they used to wear, what they used to wear, what jewelry they used to wear, what kind of bathrooms, living rooms, bedrooms they had, what kind of paintings were there, what kind of art forms were there. You have to do all that research, because once you do all that research of that time period, of that era, or of that setting, you will get to make a more authentic and realistic story to public. After you've done the research, you have the idea, you've done the research, and you have to start developing the characters, because characters are the thing that will drive your story forward. This is the most important thing. Your story should always be moving forward. It should not be that your story stuck at a point, because if it's stuck at a point, it becomes boring for the audience. It should always be moving forward. But there are some instances where people have made films which are only shot in one room. For example, 12 Angry Men is a great example of that, which have been shot in a setting or in a particular environment, but still people have been able to grasp the idea behind that. That's most important. But most important is that your story should be moving forward, and you should know what your character's strengths are, what your character's weaknesses are, what is the background behind, why is your character doing what he is doing in the film. For example, there's a movie called John Wick. John Wick, mein, what happens is his dog is killed, and that becomes the motivation or something for him to go and hunt the killers. Or in Ghajni, you might see Amir Khan. His strength is that he's strong, he's able to do tasks, or he was intelligent or something. But his flaw is that he can't remember anything after 15 minutes. So you should know everything about your character. You should know what his strengths are and what his flaws are. That is the most important thing. Next, sir.
Faz, here you talked about research
Mm-hmm.
and character development.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to know that what are the sources of research that you usually use for your research? Maybe it's for your short films or for the music video. What are the sources that you use?
Basically, if I am particularly focusing to shoot a movie that is set in 1980s, basically, or 70s, basically, first thing I'll see key at that point of the time, we have the most important tool right now, that is internet. Internet helps us access throughout the world all the knowledge we have at our fingertips. Basically, you can
Okay.
search anything you want. For example, I'm shooting a scene of 1970s or 60s. Firstly, I'll remember there were no phones in 1960s, 70s. There were no wireless means of communication at that time. There was no internet, there was no video calls or video conferences, or those things were not discovered. So in order to minimize the, in order to, what is the alternative of that, what is the alternative of a phone call? People used to send emissaries through, you know horses. They used to go from one place to another. For example, in 17th century or 16th century, they used to take letters from one king to the other, or one ruler to the other. They used to do that. So basically, research comes from, in today's age, all the research mostly comes from internet and books, I must say that.
Yes. Yeah, indeed. Uh, Internet is the thing that I think you can explore any part of the world
Mm-hmm.
through internet. You can go to, to the virtual museums as well. You don't have to visit a museum.
Of course.
But then there are, I think, adding to this, I think paintings, even paintings, sculptures,
Of
and
course.
architects are also, I think, one of the most important resources for the research, because as a filmmaker, you need to create a world for the actor where they develop as a character.
Mhm.
Um, as an actor, you know, you cannot perform if the director or the production designer have not created the right or the authentic background. Like for an example, like imagine uh, somebody is wearing a suit of an Iron Man and he's asked to perform Manto, you know,
That's not
right?
possible.
So that's not possible. So
Mhm.
that means what key you need to make him feel like an Iron Man. That
Right.
okay, you are a superhero,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And the and the background. So for
Environment
that
as
also
well.
you need a
Yes.
lot of research. Then only the
Mhm.
character can develop as a character there.
Of
So
course.
that is a very important thing. And character development, yes, developing a character, there are two things like one is the character develops in the plot, in the story, in the script, and the character development which is happening inside an actor,
Right.
as an individual,
Right.
right? If I as an actor I'm not feeling like the character which is given to me, if I don't know the background of the character, for an example, Harry Potter, you said Harry Potter was an orphan, you know, a lot
Right.
of wrong things happened to
To him.
him
Mm.
when he was child, right?
Child.
That's what makes Harry Potter
That builds him.
as a character. Yeah, that's builds him. So we need to, whenever we are developing a character, we also need to think about the history, its past, its background. I think that what helps into creating great characters.
Of course, that's very important.
Yes, 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 yes.
So after we have the characters, we have done the research, we have the idea about it, we start outlining the plot, basically what will happen in the plot. So we need to know the beginning, middle, and the end. We'll talk about it later. I have arranged some diagrams for that. So you have to keep in mind the plot, basically how the structure of it's going to be. Where is the midpoint going to be? How it's going to rise? How the action is going to rise? How it's going to reach the climax, and how it's going to fall. You need to, for example, if it's a war movie or something like Dangal, you need to know how your characters are two kids, for example, and how the father develops their wrestling abilities to that point that he can make them reach the Commonwealth. That's very important. Like you need to have that structure in your mind. There are two kids, their father is already a wrestler who has already won awards, and now he wants his daughters to be the same as him. He trains them, he makes them work, he does all that, all those things. And you need to know basically the outline of the plot first. You need to have the basic idea in your mind to grasp and to move forward. Then you need to develop the plot, as you sir said rightly, that you need to know about the world, about the specific time period, about Iron Man. If he's Iron Man, he needs to have that background behind him. He needs to have those buildings, those cars, those billionaire things around him.
The
Then
setup.
only you
Yeah.
know that he's Iron Man. You need to, if it creates place in a, if it takes place in a fictional world, you need to have that fictional world. As Harry Potter has his magic Hogwarts, there is that school of magic. You need to have those magical items there. You need to, like, in developing the plot, you need to create your universe. If you are in a fictional thing, you need to create the rules of the universe, basically, what I was talking about. You need to create, if you're going up, then you're going up. In Christopher Nolan's, you see that there was his movie, I don't remember, Inception, I guess, where in the tunnel used to role. You need to keep that in mind. How will I justify this thing to the audience? Or in Interstellar, where he's landing on a planet and suddenly 1 hour has passed for him and 80 years have passed on Earth, for example. You need to justify that thing to the audience physically. Your movie should basically be justified. That's what sells. That's the commercial aspect of it. That's pitching the stories that sell. Basically, what sells is authenticity. Once you are able to explain it to the audience, no, this thing is authentic, this thing can happen. Like, one of the highest grossing films ever is Avengers. In Avengers, they have shown things that are maybe possible in future, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, time travel or things like that. They have shown Iron Man. In Iron Man, they have shown things like he can fly in a suit of armor or something like that, which are possible. You need to justify those things to the audience. think about subplots, character arcs, plots. You have to place plots within the plots, basically. If there is a larger plot in your movie, for example, Dangal, you have to make them the Commonwealth wrestlers. You have to introduce subplots in it. You have to create some drama around it, some tension around that. You don't just directly make them, wrestlers and directly show that they won the medals. You have to show their training. You have to show the difficulties they faced. You have to create those plots so that the audience will be hooked to your thing. And symbolisms
Yes.
are important. Recently, there was a movie, Animal, as all of you must have watched. There were a few symbols. Maybe the director of the movie would not agree with that, but there were a few symbols. Like if you see Ranbir Kapoor going on his company's stage, Swastik, which was the name of his company. Basically, he goes on the stage, and Swastik is basically was this the other version of it was Hitler's also, symbol, and he does the expression like this and this in that speech where he gives. Hitler has done the same expression in it. So that symbolism creates that kind of madness in his mind is symbolized to Hitler's mind, basically. So those symbolisms are also very important. These elements, and one of the most important thing I liked about that movie was the sound design of the movie. Apart from the script, you have to keep focusing on many things: production design, sound design, cinematography. Sound design of that movie was very excellent, very excellent. I haven't seen any sound design in recent times like that. So these elements, when you start putting these elements, you have to keep in mind once you're writing the script of the movie. You should imagine this also. Once you're writing the script, you should imagine, no, if you're writing a sad scene, for example, this should be in your mind, like how the music goes down, like Hans Zimmer creates music in Hollywood, in Interstellar films, like that. You need to keep that in mind, how the flow of the music should go. If it's a sad scene, the music should go a little down. If it's an action scene, there should be a high tone of music or something like that. So these things are very important in developing the plot. These elements make the film more engaging and meaningful to the audience, basically. So next. And after you have done all that, you have written your script, you have all the ideas, you've created your universe, you have plotted all the subplots, character arcs, plots, everything you have done. Then after doing all that, you start proofreading it. Not only for grammatical errors or if there is an error or something like that. What I personally do is, once I write a script, I read it 10 times, 15 times. Because once you read it again and again, you get this into mind. For example, there's a particular scene, you find 10 ways to write it better, 10 ways to make it better. Once you start reading it again and again, for example, there's a scene where a person is going from A to B. So from point A to point B. So there are 10 ways of showing that. Once you read your own thoughts again and again and again, you can craft it better, Basically, you can write it in a better way. You can add elements to it. You can add something which you have not written. So it's very important to proofread it. Read it again and again. Read your script. Keep on reading your script. Once you're finished, you can add things, you can subtract things, which will, make your film look better in the end. Once you're done with all that, you have corrected your grammar in your script. It's most important. Spelling, punctuation, everything is clear and clean. Then you can look on finalizing your first draft of your script. Once you're satisfied with what you have written, what you have done, you need to finalize it. And after finalizing it, then you need to pitch it, obviously. Once you start pitching it, you need to research to whom will you pitch it. For example, you are writing a love story. It's a love film. You can't go to a producer like Rohit Shetty and tell him, sir, I'm making a love film, and he'll say, okay, he'll say, no, it's not of any use to me. You need to research the person you're, sending your script to. If you send an action film to Mr. Rohit Shetty, he'll be like maybe more open to it than a love film, because that is his genre. Basically, you need to research the people you're sending the film to. Basically, that's most important. If you send a action film to Karan Johar, he'll be like, why, I can't do it, I don't think it's any good. But if you send an emotional love drama film to Karan Johar, he'll be very happy to do it. So that's important. You need to research the people you will be sending your pitch to. You need to understand their tastes, their interest, and you need to look at their previous work, what they have done previously, what they like, what they don't like in films. You need to put, and sometimes you also have to adjust your script according to the producer's will also. It happens in cinema. It's a hard truth, but sometimes it happens that producer asks you, "Nahi bhai, I want this thing in this, only then it's going to work." If it's a love film, he wants an action scene in it to make it more interesting to the audience, which contradicts sometimes with the director's idea, but the director has sometimes to go with it, or sometimes he can't go with it. He can say no to the producer, but that risks him then you have to tailor your pitch specific to their needs and to their preferences, what they like, and you have to put on that script then.
So here one more thing that is very essential after this key pitching is one of the most tedious tasks, preparing a pitch deck, because as you have rightly said that you have to research to whom you are pitching.
Mhm,
So likewise, you have to research on the audience also for whom you are making a film.
mhm.
You need to know your audience for whom you are making a film, and then you have to research. You need to know which director or producer is is going to produce your film.
Of course.
So for that, what I wanted to say here is it is very difficult to find a producer for your story, because there are so many writers. There are so many writers, and these all busy producers. As for a newcomer, it will be difficult because you might not get the time, and he might not have that much of time to read your all plot,
Mhm.
your story, right?
Of course.
So here the
Things come.
the most important thing is that you need to get a one liner log line ready, and that one liner is basically a log line is basically a very brief summary that captures the essence of your story in few sentences. In few sentences, like that is, you need to think that is the only time that you have. If you catch the attention of the producer with your log line, then you will just by looking at his face, you will understand that okay, he is interested in my idea, and then maybe he might ask you to narrate the synopsis or a summary, and then the story, because time is very precious. Time is very important here. So when a student, when a new writer, as a screenwriter, you are pitching, you have to write your logline very carefully. Like it basically it effectively communicates the premise of your script to the buyers, to the producers, the one who is going to finance your film, because then only everything will start. So a log line, for an example, uh, the viewer, most of you must have seen this film by Nitish Tiwari, Dangal, which came in the year 2016. Now you know the story of the film. If I if I'll read the uh, log line of this film is: former wrestler Mahavir Singh Fogat and his two wrestler daughters struggles towards the glory at the Commonwealth game in the face of societal oppression. Now this single sentence will have the crux, the actual theme of the story. So you have to be very carefully drafting this log line, because that is the one chance that you have which can get you a producer for your film. Because film is a very expensive business. Doesn't matter you're making a short film or a full feature length film, you need a producer. You need money to make a film, because filmmaking involves a lot of things, a lot of teams also. It involves the DOP, it involves the directors, production designer, art director, and many more. Right. So then, after logline, a well-crafted synopsis you must have. A film synopsis is a concise summary of a plot, character, and central theme of a movie. Now, this can be a form of a paragraph. So those who are starting as a writer, they can go to IMDb. They can, search for a film, and there in IMDb you can find the log lines. You can find the synopsis of the films. From there, you can get the idea that how you can draft a very engaging log line or synopsis for your final pitching deck. So that is some of the uh, few of the essentials that one needs to remember. Now, Faz, could you tell our audience, our viewer, ki while drafting a story, finding a story, or creating the plots, what are the things that you need to consider? What are the things that you need to keep in your mind? Because there is a format which works, for film
Of course.
audience, as a film as a narrative medium, a visual narrative.
Basically. So, sir, basically, if you go back to the slides, yes. So, storytelling basically, I might tell you, is the oldest form of art. It is the oldest thing that has ever been for people to get entertained. Because even if you see the history of the cavemen, people who used to live in caves, they used to
Right.
draw things, they used to draw, with their tools, and that
The
they used to
paintings, yes.
those things. They used to basically try to tell a story. People used to gather at night around the fire. They used to hunt animals, and they used to gather around the fire and tell stories of their hunting. So this is the oldest, oldest form of art, I might say, that has ever existed. So to write this art, it's a really big thing to write this art. So this act structure, basically three act structure, has been since the time of Aristotle. As Aristotle has said, everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So this thing has been going from that time. And this thing was later popularized by Sid Field, who is a great screenwriter. He has written a book on it. So the three act structure was popularized by him in 1970s, and this act basically involves 3 points: Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. In Act 1 is mostly first 25% of the film. First 25% of the film, it's called exposition. In exposition, you start introducing your characters to the audience. You start introducing who the characters in the film are. You start introducing the time period your film is set in. You start introducing whether if your film is a fantasy, if it's whatever it is, whatever the world, whatever time period, whatever it is set in. And while you go in exposition to introduce the characters, to give a brief line about the people around the characters, to give a brief line about the time period, you have to show that all visually. Uh, for example, there's a movie. Let's take an example of old movie like Titanic. In that movie, they're showing that time period. They're showing people are going to on a ship. A ship is leaving the shore. They are showing a ship is going out. So that is the exposition. That is that they're introducing Jack. They're introducing him in a shop. He's a poor fellow in a shop who goes around there, introducing the female character, showing her as a glorifying big character. In exposition, basically, you start introducing your characters, and you start introducing the time period. And at the end of exposition, there is a small incident which starts developing, giving subplot, basically an inciting incident, which starts giving a rise to the thing in the story. After the first 25% is completed, Act 1 is completed, then comes the major portion, Act 2. Act 2 is generally around 50% of the film. Most of the film happens in Act 2. In Act 2, you show the interval, basically the midpoint also gets covered in the Act 2. You show the rising action, how the action is rising. For example, if it's an action movie, you show people have started fighting, people have started going to war or something like that. The action is rising basically in the midpoint. The In the Act 2, the 50% of the film, the action starts rising, 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 and it reaches to a climax. The climax happens in mostly in Act 3. But I must tell you, it is not necessary that Act 2 will be 50% or Act 1 will be 25%. It is completely up to you. In filmmaking, we have all these rules, but all these rules, you can create your own rules, basically. You can manipulate these rules according to your own script. It's not necessary that you have to strictly follow this thing. For example, there was a movie called latest release Amar Singh Chamkila was released by Imtiaz Ali. And in that movie, in the first minute or so, they showed the killing of Amar Singh Chamkila and his wife. In the first thing, they showed the thing that's happened, the climax, I must say. They showed it on the first scene only, and then they described their stories throughout. So that is the way of Imtiaz Ali that time. But what happens is but this is the general structure. Most of the films have been made on this three act structure. And once you reach to the climax in Act 3, you start doing the denouement. Denouement is like after the climax happens, after the hero wins over the villain, protagonist wins over the antagonist, as we call in our film language. Protagonist beats the antagonist, or something happens. That happens in the climax. Then we start denouement. Denouement is like things and people are falling back into place now. There is a happy ending or a sad ending, but things are falling into place. With the major action part of the film is over. So this is basically the three act structure. Act one includes exposition, which is the introduction. Act two includes the midpoint and the rising action. Act three includes the climax and the denouement, this falling action, or things falling back into place.
Well, okay. So, so this was the act which is being followed by majority of the filmmaker. You can there are different formats. There are different formats. So, like, we'll just quickly now revise whatever we have, understood here to compel to create a very compelling story for a film. The first thing is you must have a very engaging premise. Start with a very unique idea that grabs the interest. Second is you must have the relatable characters, like the characters with whom the audience and the viewers can relate themselves. Like uh, Amar Singh Chamkila, you have recently seen, I think, film. Then there is a films like Lapata Ladies, with whom the people can relate. Then the conflicts and the stakes are very important, which because the conflict helps the characters to develop. If the conflict is bigger, the character will be shown grand, big, you know, because he has to fight, he has to come out of from the problem that he's facing, that conflict. Pacing and structure. Use a well-paced plot with a clear three-act structure. So as Faiz said that the three-act structure is not essential. The way you can even, change it. There are many filmmakers like Christopher Nolan and Imtiaz Ali have done it. So you can. But before you break the rule, you need to understand the rule, how it works. Then universal theme. If your story must have universal theme, which must be relatable to the people. Like if you're making a film for Indian audience, then you have to think about the the stories which can be relatable to the audience of a specific demographic locations. है ना? Visual storytelling, because this is a medium of visual, so visual has to uh, be carefully planned. As a production designer, as a cinematographer, it has to be carefully planned. Market research. Now, once the story is ready, you cannot keep it in your laptop, right? You will not. You have to sell it. You have to sell it. You have to get funds for your film. You have to get producer or financer for a film. So you have to research the market. You have to research what kind of films are working in Netflix and in other OTT platforms. Pitching, develop a compelling pitch. All the essentials regarding pitch deck has already been discussed here. Build networks, visit film festivals. There you get a chance to build your network and share the story, the plan with your friends, with your family, and be open for the feedback. take the feedback. And because sometimes what happens ki you are so much engrossed into your story that sometimes it becomes the director's block. You know, you can't think out of it. So sometimes your friend who's listening to you, they can, break it, that block, and they can suggest a better things to you. So you can share it with the. So these were some of the key point to consider in order to write a very compelling story for a film which sells. So with this, I think we'll end this, and I'll like to hand over this session back to Dalvinder Kaurji.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sameer and Mr. Sheikh. So it was wonderful watching you talking on perfecting your pitch, crafting stories that tell in depth. So I would request to the admission nominee, Mr. Ashish Kumar Sharma, to be on the screen. Over to you, Mr. Ashish. Mr. Sameer, can you please stop sharing your screen?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Sameer sir and Sheikh Faiz. It was wonderful listening to you. You have enlightened participants very well. The next coming part is, it's a question among all the candidates, is that how to choose the university and which university would be the appropriate university to pursue their career or to pursue their degree in film and TV production. Right. So I'm here to tell you that Lovely Professional University is one of the best universities when it comes to the School of Film and TV Production. You can have marvelous faculty over here with a great industry exposure. Right. Each one of them are from the industry, and they have that sort of exposure that you can have an inclusive growth, and you can build your character in that way that you will define yourself once you will be qualified from the Lovely Professional University into the industry, right? So with the screen sharing, I'm going to start. Please let me confirm one thing. Dalvinder, am I able to share my screen well?
Yes,
Is it
yes,
visible?
the screen is visible. You can continue, Mr. Ashish.
Thank you. Thank you. I will start with the accreditation parts. Very proudly, I would like to front this thing. I would like to tell you that now we are NAC A++ accredited university, and this is the highest score in the first cycle of the accreditation among all the government and private universities. So now, studying from Lovely Professional University will bring an extra edge to you that we have studied from the NAC A++ universities. It simply means that we have that sort of infrastructure which will surely going to bring a very professional learning, very professional conceptual clarity in your course curriculum, in your practical learnings, right? So a few other approvals are there. For example, Pharmacy Council of India, Architecture, Council of Architecture, Indian Association of Physiotherapies, and other as well. In Atal ranking of Institution of Innovation Achievements, we were ranked third. Talking about extracurricular activities, we are good at sports. We are good at finding spots for you, especially when it comes to the filming part. You can have n number of locations inside the university campus itself that you can make your own short films over here. You can shoot your documentaries. You can shoot your short movies over here inside the campus itself. But when it comes to the college, we have 12 medals in Tokyo Olympics. Out of 13 students, 12 students won the medals in Tokyo Olympics in Maka sports as well. in 19th Asian Games, few other things. And this was the proud moment when Shri Narendra Modi, the Honorable Prime Minister of India, was here on 106th Indian Science Congress, and he inaugurated the session. His Holiness Dalai Lama Ji, he was here in one of the convocations of the university to provide degrees to our students. In the frame, you can see two presidents of two countries, Shri Pranab Mukherjee and Shri Hamid Karzai, along with our Honorable Chancellor, sir, member of Parliament Rajya Sabha. Late Arun Jaitley ji, the then Finance Minister, he was here on the campus for LPU Startup School. The then Vice President Venkaiah Naidu ji, he was here in one of the convocations. Bahar Gopal Das. See the level of exposure you are going to get while studying in lovely professional university. You can have a chance to listen them. They are coming here regularly for sharing their lifetime experiences among students. And of course, these people are also coming not just to dance, but to provide many experiences of their life while in their professional life, in their personal struggles. So they are here to bring such inspirations among the students. Mahendra Singh Dhoni, few other actors. This is the infrastructure. This is the kind of infrastructure LPU have, and you can find out the locations, n number of locations around the campus. This is inside view of the auditorium where 2,500 people can sit together. High-tech labs where you can perform all the post-production parts. This is the heart of the university. We call it Uni Center, a Uni Mall. It's a shopping mall inside the campus itself, and its backside of this building, there is a hotel inside the university campus where students of School of Hospitality are learning practically. Let's go inside the mall where you can meet all your daily needs. This is the inside view of the shopping mall. High-tech gymnasium is also available. Even the bowling alley is there. 25-bedded hospital is also available. 24/7 ambulances are available. And this is the aerial view of our Unipolis, where all the concerts are being held. And the students who are from film and TV production, they are certainly going to get n number of opportunities during the live concerts to shoot their packages. And we are also taking care of energy generation. You can see the solar panels over the roof. This is the panoramic view of the lovely professional university. We are lush green campus, and just for your information, we stood 8th on the spot in educational institutions when it comes to the competition of cleanest campus. This is the night view of LPU. This is a view of inside sports complex. You name a code and it is available inside the sports complex. Shooting range is there, basketball courts, even the squash court is there. Olympic level swimming pools are available. This is an aerial view of inside sports complex, indoor sports complex, sorry. And these are the programs which are available in film and TV production, BSc film and TV production. It's of 3 years duration, 6 semesters would be there. B design film and TV production, 4 years is the duration, 8 semesters would be there. MSc film and TV production, then of course PhDs are also available. These are few highlights. 80% of the focus are on practical project work. Excellent studios are available as per the industry standards. Faculty is from the core industry. Film and TV studio, audio video studio with production control room. iMac lab for video editing. Few other glimpses of infrastructure. Repository of word cinema classics. These are few glimpses from the international cinematographer who conducted a workshop on cinematography. Professor Dr. Audrius conducted a workshop on documentary filmmaking. Mr. Mahesh Ane, a national award winning cinematographer. Mr. Gurvinder Singh. Mr. Shubham Gandhi. Mr. Mahesh Bhatt. Varun Dhawan. These are our prominent recruiters, Speed Records, Eros International, Colors, Viacom, Deluxe, Box Office, Pink Villa, Chopal, Ashtak, Jio, Disney Hotstar, Star Bharat, T-Series, and list goes on. We have a collaboration with Whistling Woods and Falca also. Whistling Woods, the showman of our Bollywood industry, Mr. Subhash, he owns Whistling Woods International. This is an institute of film communication and creative arts. So you can have a chance to study over there to get yourself more talented, to get yourself more equipped with the knowledge while studying in lovely professional university. So you can have such sort of exposure while studying film and TV production in lovely professional university. Few glimpses of our students who are in action, who are working for their profile making. Now let's go live. I'll tell you how to search our programs from our website. This is our website, lpu.in. You can simply go to the admissions after 12th undergraduation regular programs, and you can search all the programs over here. So we were searching about redesign film and TV production. It's mentioned over here, duration is 4 years and 8 semesters would be there. Eligibility criteria to get admission in it is, a student must have 50% aggregate marks in 12th class, and English must be studied, and our entrance exam is there, lovely professional university, national entrance and scholarship test, LPU Nest, it must be qualified. And one more dynamic feature of it is, if you are qualifying UCEED exam or NITDAT prelims, on the contrary with lovely professional university, in the bargain, you are proving your admission in any of the NID, in any of the NIFT. We will respect your academic excellence and we will provide you 1 lakh rupees study grant as a pride for you, for your parents as well. Right? For contacting us, you can call us, you can make a call to our call centers for the admission related inquiry. The numbers are 01824 517 000, 01824 404404. You can have chat with our expert counselors through WhatsApp. The number is 98525 69000. You just need to ping on this number over the WhatsApp, and you can have a chat with our admission counselors. You can write us an email, admissions@lpu.co.in is the email ID. You can write us for any query, any type of query regarding the infrastructure in School of Film and TV Production, regarding the faculty of School of Film and TV Production. You can write us for any information and we will revert you within 48 working hours. One more information is there. Now we are across the country. Our admission counselors are available in pan India. You just enter your state and you can find out our office address, which is available where our admission officers are available for the counseling. Let's see if I want to see our admission offices, where our admission offices are established in Maharashtra. I just need to click on Maharashtra and you can have the office addresses of our Maharashtra offices. Right. So this is all from my side. Over to you, Dalvinder. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ashish. As I can see, there are some questions from our participant. Can we take questions? Mr. Sameer, Mr. Sheikh, and Mr. Ashish.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Thanks for giving me a chance to address your questions. And now let's start with the question number one. Adil is asking here, what elements are essential for crafting a compelling narrative within a pitch?
Faz, you would like to answer?
Yes, basically within a pitch, as we already discussed, logline and synopsis are the most important thing that you should have after a pitch. Logline is the most, it's a one-liner thing that explains the whole story of a film. For example, if you search a film on Google, you type any film in the world on Google, there will come along with IMDb rating, there will come 2, 3, 4 lines on Google which will describe a short, glimpse about the film. That is the most important pitching, because sometimes you'll go to a producer, he'll like literally give you just 2 or 3 minutes while he's walking, he'll tell you, tell me what is the script about, and those 3 lines, those 4 lines will decide whether your script is going to go ahead or not. So log line and synopsis, a short form of your script basically is synopsis. That is the most important thing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sheikh. Mega is asking here, how does the storytelling contribute to the effectiveness of a pitch in selling products or ideas?
Basically, storytelling affects everything. The way you present yourself, the way you are able to explain your story to the producer, are able to better communicate it to the producer. That is what sells. You have to be very good at communication. You have to be very good at crafting your synopsis. You have to be very good at, appeasing the producer, basically. As we already discussed, you have to do research on the producer. What kind of films does he like? Is he an action producer or a, romantic producer? You have to do all that research. Research is most important.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sheikh, Mr. Sameer, and Mr. Ashish. I hope all the participants got the answers from our experts. As we come to the end of this webinar, I want to express my deepest gratitude to our experts for sharing their valuable insights and expertise with us. Your presence, enthusiasm, and active participation have made this experience truly special. Hopefully, the attendees found this webinar to be valuable and will be able to utilize the information for better decision making regarding your admissions. If anyone wants to access this webinar, again, they can visit our website, that is lpu.in, or can be accessed on YouTube also. Stay connected with us for future webinars. Until we meet again, with the permission of my seniors, I would be signing off this webinar. Take care and goodbye. Have a nice day.